Good morning/afternoon/evening, everyone. I want to start today with a truth that is as powerful as it is painful. Some relationships are not meant to last. Not because we don't love, but because love cannot survive in an environment of disrespect, manipulation, or stagnation. And yes, this can even include the relationships we hold dearest. Those with our family, who respect is the cornerstone of any healthy relationship. It is not just a courtesy we extend to others. It is a recognition of their humanity, their worth, and their individuality. In every relationship, respect creates a space where people can feel valued and safe, where their voices are heard and their feelings matter. Without it, even the strongest bonds will wither, leaving behind resentment and pain. True respect goes beyond politeness or good manners. It is about understanding and honoring the boundaries, choices, and identity of another person. It is about listening without interrupting, seeking to understand before seeking to be understood, and giving others the dignity of their own experiences. Respect means acknowledging that someone's perspective, even if different from ours, is valid. It means treating their emotions with care and recognizing their right to make decisions for themselves. When respect is absent in a relationship, the signs are unmistakable. Conversations become one-sided, with one person dominating and dismissing the other. Decisions are made without consideration, leaving the other feeling powerless and invisible. Criticism replaces encouragement, and instead of lifting each other up, the relationship becomes a battlefield of egos. This is not love. It is control disguised as connection. It can be particularly difficult to demand respect in family relationships. We are often taught that elders, parents, or other authority figures deserve our deference no matter what. But respect is not about hierarchy or age. It is about mutual acknowledgement. Being family does not give someone the right to undermine your feelings, invalidate your experiences, or belittle your worth. Just as you are expected to respect them, they must respect you in return. It is such a great commitment to respect. Demanding respect does not mean being confrontational or unkind. It means setting boundaries and standing firm in them. It means saying, I will not tolerate being spoken to this way, or I need you to listen to me as much as I listen to you. It is not about creating conflict, but about fostering mutual understanding and equality. Respect is not just an expectation. It is a gift we offer ourselves and others. It is what allows love to flourish, trust to deepen, and relationships to grow. If respect is missing, no amount of love, loyalty, or obligation can make up for its absence. Recognizing this truth and prioritizing respect in every interaction is essential for building connections that are not only meaningful but sustainable. Without respect, there is no foundation strong enough to support the weight of a genuine relationship. Emotional manipulation is one of the most insidious forms of control, often disguised as concern, love, or care. It sneaks into relationships quietly, planting seeds of doubt and insecurity that can grow into an overwhelming sense of dependence or guilt. At its core, manipulation is about power, an attempt to bend another person's thoughts, emotions, or actions to serve someone else's agenda. Recognizing it is crucial because it erodes trust and undermines your sense of self. Manipulation doesn't always look overt or obvious. It can manifest as subtle guilt trips, where someone makes you feel bad for prioritizing yourself or your needs. They might say things like, I guess I just don't matter to you, when you set a boundary or make a decision that doesn't align with their desires. Over time, these comments chip away at your confidence, making you question whether your feelings and choices are valid. Another common tactic of emotional manipulation is gaslighting. This involves distorting the truth to make you doubt your perceptions or memories. Phrases like, you're too sensitive, or that never happened, are used to dismiss your feelings and convince you that you're in the wrong, even when you're not. This creates a dynamic where you start relying on the manipulator for validation of your reality, giving them immense control over your emotions. Emotional manipulators often exploit vulnerabilities to gain an advantage. They may use your fears, insecurities, or past mistakes against you, twisting them into tools to control your behavior. For instance, they might bring up an old argument during a new discussion, not to resolve it, but to silence you or make you feel guilty. They might even weaponize love, saying things like, if you really loved me, you would do this, forcing you to prove your loyalty or affection by compromising your own needs and desires. What makes emotional manipulation so dangerous is its ability to masquerade as love or care. A manipulative family member might say, "I'm just doing this for your own good," when they're really trying to impose their will on you. A partner might claim, "I just want what's best for us," when they're actually prioritizing their needs over yours. These statements can confuse you, making it harder to see the manipulation for what it truly is. The impact of emotional manipulation is profound. It can leave you feeling powerless, anxious, and constantly on edge. You may find yourself second-guessing your choices, suppressing your emotions, or walking on eggshells to avoid conflict. Over time, this dynamic can drain your emotional energy and erode your self-esteem, making it increasingly difficult to stand up for yourself. Impossible to me sounds like something that someone is trying to induce you to do something. Breaking free from emotional manipulation requires courage and self-awareness. The first step is recognizing the patterns of behavior that make you feel controlled or diminished. Pay attention to how certain interactions leave you feeling uninspired. If you often feel guilty, confused, or invalidated after speaking with someone, it may be a sign of manipulation. Goal setting for me was essential. Once you identify the manipulation, it's important to set boundaries, clearly communicate your limits, and assert your right to make your own decisions. This can be challenging, especially if the manipulator is someone close to you, but it's essential for protecting your emotional well-being. Surround yourself with supportive people who respect your boundaries and remind you of your worth. Remember, love and care should never come at the expense of your autonomy or self-respect. A healthy relationship uplifts and empowers you. It doesn't make you feel small or trapped. Emotional manipulation is a red flag that cannot be ignored. Recognizing it and taking steps to address it is not just an act of self-preservation, it's an act of self-love. Consistent negativity in any relationship is like a slow poison. It seeps into the connection, eroding trust, joy, and the sense of mutual support that every healthy bond needs to thrive. Negativity, when left unchecked, doesn't just affect the person expressing it, it also weighs heavily on those around them, creating an environment of tension, frustration, and emotional exhaustion. Relationships should be sources of strength and positivity, but when negativity dominates, they can become draining and even damaging. Today, she helps leaders eliminate distractions so they can become drained instead. Negativity can manifest in many ways, from constant criticism to persistent pessimism. It might involve someone pointing out flaws or mistakes at every turn, rarely acknowledging your efforts or successes. They may focus on what's wrong instead of what's right, always finding reasons to complain or bring others down. While it's natural to have bad days and moments of frustration, a consistently negative attitude becomes a pattern that colors every interaction. For instance, imagine sharing exciting news about a new opportunity, only to have someone respond with skepticism or doubt. "Are you sure you can handle that?" Or, "That sounds like a lot of work. What if it doesn't work out?" These comments, while subtle, chip away at your confidence and enthusiasm over time. Instead of feeling supported, you begin to feel diminished, as if your achievements or dreams are not worth celebrating. Negativity also has a contagious quality. Being around someone who constantly sees the worst in situations or people can start to affect your own mindset. You might find yourself becoming more anxious, doubtful, or irritable, even in situations where you once felt confident or happy. The emotional toll of trying to counteract someone's negative energy can be immense, leaving you feeling drained and depleted after every interaction. What makes consistent negativity particularly toxic is its ability to create an imbalance in the relationship. When one person always brings negativity to the table, the other often feels compelled to compensate by being overly positive, accommodating, or forgiving. This dynamic can lead to feelings of resentment, as the person on the receiving end of the negativity feels burdened by the constant need to maintain emotional equilibrium. It's important to recognize that negativity doesn't just affect how we feel, it also shapes how we behave. In a consistently negative environment, people are less likely to take risks, try new things, or express themselves freely. They may start to doubt their own abilities or decisions, fearing judgment or criticism. Over time, this stifling atmosphere can hinder personal growth and prevent both individuals from reaching their full potential, measuring up to their potential by a relative milestone. The fear of projection is similar to that. Addressing consistent negativity in a relationship requires honesty and a willingness to confront difficult truths. Start by observing how the negativity manifests and how it affects you. Does it leave you feeling unsupported, unappreciated, or exhausted? Once you've identified the impact, it's time to have an open conversation with the person involved. Share your feelings calmly and assertively, explaining how their negativity affects you and the relationship. However, it's also important to recognize when negativity goes beyond what you can manage. Some individuals may not be willing or able to change their outlook, no matter how much you try to help. In these cases, setting boundaries becomes crucial. You must prioritize your own emotional well-being, even if it means distancing yourself from the negative influence. Consistent negativity is not something to ignore or downplay. While it may seem like a personality trait or a harmless habit, its long-term effects can be profound. It creates a toxic environment that stifles joy, connection, and growth, replacing them with tension, doubt, and frustration. By recognizing and addressing negativity, you can protect your energy and create space for healthier, more uplifting relationships. After all, life is too short to spend it surrounded by shadows when there's so much light to embrace. Boundaries are the invisible lines we draw to protect our emotional, mental, and physical well-being. They define what we find acceptable and unacceptable in our interactions with others, ensuring that our needs and limits are respected. When these boundaries are crossed repeatedly, it sends a clear message of disregard, disrespect, and sometimes even control. This kind of behavior undermines trust and creates an unhealthy dynamic, whether in personal, professional, or family relationships. Repeated boundary crossing can take many forms, ranging from small dismissals to significant violations. It might look like someone ignoring your requests for personal space or time alone, dismissing your feelings when you express discomfort, or continually pushing you to do things that make you uneasy. At its core, this behavior shows a lack of recognition for your autonomy and the things that matter to you. So it's not just about the action itself, it's about the underlying refusal to honor your right to define your limits. In family relationships, crossing boundaries can often be excused under the guise of closeness or tradition. Statements like, "But I'm your mother," or "We're family, so we don't need boundaries," are commonly used to justify intrusive behavior. A parent might feel entitled to weigh in on your personal decisions. A sibling might demand your time and energy without considering your circumstances. Or a relative might continually bring up sensitive topics despite your repeated requests to avoid them. While family bonds can be deep and meaningful, they do not give anyone the right to ignore or override your personal limits. In friendships or romantic relationships, crossed boundaries can manifest as persistent demands for your time, energy, or emotional labor. A friend might call or text incessantly even when you've expressed that you're busy or unavailable. A partner might insist on knowing every detail of your private life even when you've expressed a need for some independence. Over time, these behaviors can make you feel smothered, unimportant, or even unsafe. Among the various languages used to label caregivers, behaviors like hypervigilance, lazy, formal, or unimportant, or even unsafe. What makes repeated boundary crossing particularly harmful is its cumulative effect. The first time a boundary is crossed, it might seem minor, a one-off incident that you can overlook. But when it happens again and again, it creates a pattern that erodes trust and respect. Each violation chips away at your sense of security and self-worth, leaving you feeling as though your needs and feelings are insignificant. One of the most frustrating aspects of boundary crossing is the lack of accountability that often accompanies it. People who repeatedly cross boundaries may dismiss your concerns with excuses like, "I didn't mean to," or "You're overreacting." They might try to shift the blame onto you, suggesting that your boundaries are unreasonable or overly strict. These responses not only invalidate your feelings, but also make it harder to enforce your boundaries in the future. Boundary violations can also escalate over time if left unaddressed. Someone who ignores small limits might begin to push larger ones, testing how far they can go before you push back. This can create a dynamic where you feel constantly on guard, unsure of what will happen next or how much you're willing to tolerate. The emotional toll of living in such a situation can be immense, leading to stress, anxiety, and a loss of confidence in your ability to stand up for yourself. Repeated boundary crossing also sends a dangerous message about power and control within the relationship. It suggests that one person's wants and needs are more important than the others, creating an imbalance that can lead to resentment and conflict. Growth is a fundamental aspect of human existence, encompassing personal development, emotional resilience, intellectual expansion, and self-actualization. It allows individuals to evolve, adapt, and reach their potential, paving the way for fulfillment and a sense of purpose. However, when growth is stifled in a relationship, it creates an environment of stagnation that not only limits individual progress, but also undermines the relationship's potential for mutual enrichment and evolution. Stifled growth can occur in various ways, often insidiously. It may involve overt discouragement, such as when someone criticizes your ambitions, belittles your efforts to improve, or questions your ability to achieve your goals. Alternatively, it might take the form of subtle yet persistent behaviors, such as dismissing your ideas, undermining your confidence, or imposing their preferences over your desires. These patterns create a climate of inhibition where self-expression and exploration are systematically constrained. In some cases, stifled growth manifests through control. A controlling partner, friend, or family member may seek to dictate how you spend your time, whom you interact with, or what decisions you make. This control often stems from insecurity or fear of losing influence over you, but its effect is to confine you within a narrowly defined role or identity. Over time, this diminishes your ability to pursue new opportunities, challenge yourself, or embrace change. Another mechanism by which growth is stifled is the imposition of rigid expectations. When someone imposes their vision of who you should be, whether as a parent, child, spouse, or colleague, it leaves little room for you to explore who you truly are. These expectations might be culturally ingrained, rooted in tradition, or born of the other person's fears and biases. Regardless of their origin, they create a framework that restricts your ability to grow authentically, forcing you to conform to external standards rather than following your own path. Fear of change is often a key factor in relationships that stifle growth. People who resist their own growth may also resist yours, as your evolution threatens the status quo they find comfortable. They may discourage you from taking risks, learning new skills, or pursuing passions that set you apart. This fear-based resistance can create an atmosphere of complacency, where the potential for growth is consistently sacrificed for the illusion of stability. The effects of stifled growth are profound and far-reaching. Emotionally, it can lead to feelings of frustration, dissatisfaction, and a sense of being trapped. Intellectually, it limits your exposure to new ideas, experiences, and challenges, which are essential for cognitive and personal development. Over time, the lack of growth can erode your confidence and diminish your sense of self-worth as you begin to internalize the belief that your aspirations are unrealistic or unwelcome. In addition to these individual consequences, stifled growth has a detrimental impact on the relationship itself. A relationship where one or both parties are unable to grow becomes stagnant, characterized by monotony and a lack of vitality. The absence of growth, challenges, and achievements diminishes the opportunities for shared excitement, mutual encouragement, and collaborative evolution, which are critical components of a thriving connection. It is also worth noting that stifling growth often reflects deeper relational imbalances, such as power dynamics or unresolved conflicts. For example, someone who consistently suppresses your growth may be projecting their own insecurities, struggling to reconcile their fears with the inevitable changes that growth brings. While their behavior may not always be intentional or malicious, the result is the same: a relationship that limits rather than nurtures your potential. In life, relationships should nurture us, not diminish us. They should be spaces where we feel valued, respected, and supported in our journey toward growth and fulfillment. But when respect is absent, manipulation takes hold, negativity dominates, boundaries are disregarded, or growth is stifled, the relationship becomes a burden rather than a blessing. We owe it to ourselves to recognize these signs and make the difficult but necessary choices to protect our well-being. Walking away is never easy, especially when it involves family or those we care deeply about. Yet choosing to leave behind what harms us is not an act of selfishness, it's an act of courage and self-love. Remember, the relationships worth keeping are those that uplift you, celebrate your individuality, and encourage you to grow. You deserve connections that bring light, not shadows, and foster love, not limitations. Choose wisely and never settle for anything less than the respect, peace, and support you truly deserve. Maine.